We talk about real estate on this show, so the topic this week is, of course, Taylor Swift. Obviously, the world is obsessed with Taylor Swift right now, even if you're not a Swiftie or a Kansas City Chiefs fan. And though I'm of an older generation, I'm perfectly willing to admit that over the years I would hear a song on the radio that I didn't recognize, and so I'd Shazam it and find out it was her and think, she's really good. So, today, Taylor Swift is so big that she impacts basically everything she touches. Of course, I could be referring to her massive portfolio of properties. Google the property sometime. You'll say wow a few times. She's a darn smart investor and brilliant businesswoman, and number 5 on Forbes' recent list of the 5 most powerful women in the world, and the others above her are all in government. But that's not it. There's an interesting article recently from architecturaldigest.com, and I'll link to it in the show notes, and it's titled The Eras Tour, How Taylor Swift and Her Music Have Impacted Home Prices. And, oh my gosh, it turns out to be true. Wherever Taylor goes, it seems like housing prices increase. Now, it's important to remember a key scientific research point. Correlation does not equal causation. In other words, it isn't necessarily that Taylor Swift has a magic aura and any place she sets foot instantly becomes more prosperous and valuable, even though there's no shortage of articles out there about the effect she has on the state of the economy and the what the Eras Tour did to boost travel and tourism and how she completely rewired the entire film distribution paradigm. But stay with me and we'll dig into how much effect she's had on the market and why. And while you're here, click on the subscribe button because it does help me grow the new show. So let's look at some numbers. According to Architectural Digest study, in the period from March through August 2023, the national average of home price increases was 0.52%. Definitely a slowdown from the pandemic peak craziness, but note that prices are still going up. But in cities where the first phase of the Eras Tour took place during the period, the average was actually 2.1%. And in some places, far bigger. Las Vegas, 3.3%. Chicago, 4.3%. Nashville, 4.7%. Minneapolis, 5.5%. Detroit, 6.1%. Foxborough, Massachusetts, 6.4%. Glendale, Arizona, outside Phoenix, 6.5%. And the big ones, Tampa, Florida at 8.2% and Atlanta, Georgia at 8.8%. So what does it mean? Is it just that Taylor Swift is magic? Well, some would probably argue yes, but that's a different discussion. And the article goes into a lot of additional info about how the tour had an impact on local economies. Taylor Swift fans spent an average of 28% of their monthly income to attend an Eras Tour performance. Now, that's a pretty serious commitment. But the big impact isn't the actual performance, but an ancillary effect. People traveled to see her. And when they went to other cities, usually visiting for the first time, they saw options of places to maybe go for the long term. And 1 out of 5 of the people who traveled to a different city to see her are now actually considering moving to that city, even though Taylor's moved on. But I'm sure some of the enthusiasm for these different places was, heightened by the excitement of attending the shows, but still, the numbers from the study hint at something more. The article implies that the overall experience drives the effect, but I think it's deeper than that. Once people settle into an area, they tend to stay put for a while. A lot of people stay where they grew up. Heck, I've been to 53 countries and worked on projects all over the United States back in my media days, but I've still primarily lived in the greater LA and Orange County areas my entire life. So for a lot of people who, shift locales, they make the big shift when they go off to college and then move to a new area to find work and then find someone special and settle in. But most people aren't consistently geographically mobile. So getting out to experience something different from the normal vacation and perhaps take a little time to see the area in addition to Taylor, once they've gotten there, it opens up their eyes to options that they may not have considered before. The survey part of the Architectural Digest study is what really interested me here. They surveyed 1,000 fans who attended the first leg of the concert tour about their experiences and expenses and post-show thoughts. And the big one that came up for me as a real estate guy is the stat that 1 out of 5 people who traveled to a different city to see her concert considered moving to that specific city they visited. Now, that's a pretty huge number. And, the lower amount of travel in the last few years probably has had some effect on the emotional impact of seeing their favorite performer in a once-in-a-lifetime level production experience. But still, the big place, Houston, Texas. 45% of the respondents who traveled to Houston said they'd be interested in moving there after visiting for the show. And by the way, I've got some phenomenal agent friends in Houston I'm happy to matchmake you with if you want to move there. Just reach out. But other cities had a similar interest. 41% of the Seattle attendees, 31% in Atlanta, 27% in Denver. Anyway, I highly recommend the article, and they go into a lot more detail, so check it out. So, back to the important question. What does all this mean for you? Not for Taylor. She's doing just great real estate and investment-wise. As people on the tour found out, there's a whole country out there worth looking at if you're starting to think maybe it's time to cash in on the crazy run-up of prices here in California real estate, or wherever you happen to be. I'll vet a great agent for you anywhere in the country, by the way, if you need it. Even if you have some capital gains concerns, I quote an old friend and business mentor from a meeting we were having years back, or it might have been over cocktails. It's been a while. But anyway, the message always stuck with me. He said, "I don't mind paying some taxes. It means I'm winning." So if you've got a bunch of equity in your property and you're tired of the traffic and the taxes and the crime and passing the tents at the side of the road, you don't actually need a concert as an excuse to go and visit some alternate cities, or small towns for that matter. A lot of these places can give you a higher quality of life with lower expenses. Heck, our prices here in Southern California are so inflated that if you've owned any property for more than 3 to 5 years, you're likely sitting on enough equity to buy something outright for 3/4 of the country. So take some inspiration from Taylor Swift, who understands the value of making smart business and investment decisions. She has 8 homes that are now worth more than $150 million that she's picked up along the way. May not be a billionaire yet, but find the way to make your real estate work for you. Maybe she actually is magic. I don't know. I welcome your thoughts about that in the comments. Now, are you in the LA area or Orange, Ventura, or Riverside counties? We have team members that can help you all throughout the region, so reach out, and I and the rest of the Unvert Group team at Douglas Elliman would be happy to chat with you over it and talk about options. And by the way, I have people all over the country if you need recommendations, so feel free to email me at info@victorcurrie.com if you'd like to set up a time to talk. And hit that subscribe button as long as you're here. We'll be adding some interviews with other experts in the new year to help you make sense of all the craziness of the market. So, have a great week, an awesome holiday season, and I hope you'll join us for the next one.